Read. Peddle the world. Hello, my name is Jahi. I love traveling, cycling, and meeting various people from different cultures. So naturally, bike touring around the world has always been the top thing on my bucket list. In 2015, I chose Europe as the destination for my first adventure. I set off with my friend Doyoon to put my plan into action. For 130 days, we traveled around 13 countries by bicycle and met many people on the road. It was a great experience. Here, I'd like to share some of my journal entries with you. Day 1. Istanbul, Turkey. We arrived at Istanbul Ataturk International Airport in Turkey. The flight took over 10 hours, which was tiring for us, but we were so excited when we got our bicycles at the baggage claim. The first thing we did was to assemble them. After 2 hours of struggling with the parts, we were finally ready to pedal the world. We wandered around the airport for a little while before leaving and riding to downtown Istanbul. It was a beautiful, easy ride along a coastal road. Suddenly, Doyoon yelled, "I've got a flat tire!" We stopped, and while he was repairing his tire, a lot of thoughts went through my mind. Because we'd never done this kind of tour before, I was worried about whether or not we would be able to handle the upcoming bike routes we'd have to take on our long journey. However, the view of the Emerald Sea from the road was so beautiful that all my worries seemed to be washed away by the waves. We were young, and the great big world was welcoming us. Istanbul is a city with several historic areas that are listed as UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Doyoon has a particular interest in this historic city, and he guided me as if he had been to every corner of it. Our first destination was the Sultan Ahmed Mosque. It is popularly known as the Blue Mosque because of the blue tiles used to decorate the inside of it. It still functions as a mosque as it did long ago. Like many tourists there, I was so impressed by its magnificence. Next, we headed to the Galata Bridge, which spans the Golden Horn in Istanbul. This bridge is famous as a symbol of connection between the two continents of Asia and Europe. Since the bridge was first built, it has been reconstructed and renovated several times. The one that stands today was built in 1994. It is known that Leonardo da Vinci designed a bridge to be built at this location in 1502. Unfortunately, however, his design was not realized. Still, the current bridge and its surrounding scenery are beautiful. When we arrived there, the view of the Golden Horn was calm and peaceful from the bridge, with many people fishing on it. For the night, we decided to camp at a nearby park. The park manager brought us each a cup of hot black tea with a lump of sugar. He said that it was Turkish tea, which is the most consumed hot drink in Turkey, and that offering tea to guests was part of Turkish hospitality. His kindness made our tiredness disappear. Day 30. Florence, Italy. We left Empoli and arrived in Florence after about an hour of cycling. Florence is considered one of the most beautiful cities in the world. At a lounge in a Florence train station, I recharged my laptop battery and blogged my travel journal entries. Doyoon enjoyed a cup of nice coffee. It was relaxing and comfortable after the hard cycling we had done in the previous few days. While we were relaxing, a man came up to us and handed us a t-shirt without saying a word. Because I thought he was trying to sell us the t-shirt, I said to him, "No thanks." However, he was not a street vendor, but a Brazilian backpacker who wanted to promote the Olympics held in his country. In English, he tried to explain the meaning of the symbol printed on the t-shirt. As a Korean, It was quite interesting to communicate with a Brazilian in English in an Italian city. We took pictures together to remember the moment. Though it was our first time meeting, it felt as if we were old friends. We then rode our bikes to the Duomo, Santa Maria del Fiore, one of the largest cathedrals in the world. This vast Gothic structure was built on the site of the old church of Santa Reparata, and its construction lasted from the late 13th to the early 15th century. It took about 2 centuries for the cathedral to be completed. Climbing the Duomo was very challenging. However, we forgot this when we got to the top and looked down at the beautiful city. The view of Florence was terrific. I came to understand why so many people want to visit this place. We then split a calzone as a late lunch on some grass nearby. A calzone is an Italian dumpling consisting of pizza dough folded over and filled with meat and vegetables. It was really delicious. Day 60. Berlin, Germany. We biked along the Elbe River. With the night coming, it began to rain. I thought it wouldn't last long, but it started to pour. I missed home so much, my warm and cozy room, and my mom's cooking. We finally arrived at the center of Berlin. The Brandenburg Gate welcomed us. It was behind the gate that the Berlin Wall, which separated East and West Germany from 1961 to 1989, had stood for 28 years. After a short rest at the Tiergarten, a huge park, we went to the East Side Gallery. There, a 1.3-kilometer-long area of the Berlin Wall still remains. We walked around the wall and saw various symbolic pictures and graffiti on it. Surprisingly, we saw writing in Hangul. 우리의 소원은 통일. Our hope is unification. I silently made a wish that someday we could make that hope come true. Day 110. Manchester, UK. We were supposed to head to Manchester to meet Jimmy, whom I got to know on an online bike tourist community called Warm Showers. Warm Showers hosts provide bike tourists with free accommodation all around the world. We arrived in Manchester late at night. The next morning, Jimmy took us to Old Trafford, the home football ground of Manchester United. Our time at Old Trafford started with a tour of the Manchester United Museum, where we saw a wax sculpture of Peter Schmeichel, the former Manchester United goalkeeper. Do-yoon automatically bowed to the sculpture, which was really funny. When I entered the players' locker room, I was so excited to see all the uniforms. I took several pictures of myself in front of Park Ji-sung's uniform. We had a really good time there. In the late afternoon, Jimmy's friends came over and we played football together. They were on their summer vacation and they wanted to do something exciting. So I asked if they could join our bicycle trip. They said they would gladly join us to our next destination, Edinburgh, Scotland. We were of similar age and had similar interests. We talked about many things from our school lives to our dream jobs. Traveling together on our bikes would be an unforgettable event for us all. My great, ambitious journey is over. During it, I sometimes suffered great physical challenges and felt like giving up. At other times, I missed home a lot. When I looked around, however, there were always supporters to make up for all of these obstacles. A gentle breeze cheered me up when I was exhausted after long hours of pedaling. I met a kind local who gladly provided me with shelter. Most of all, my best friend, Do-yoon, riding with me through the journey, stood by my side. There were many good people wherever we were. Despite cultural differences, we all depended on each other in one way or another. As our wheels were wearing out, good memories were piling up. I'll never forget my summer bike trip. It will be kept in the book of my life as one of the most meaningful stories. think outside the box. Common travel mistakes and how to avoid them.
Traveling internationally is an adventure best planned ahead of time, and not just when it comes to booking flights and packing. While you may think that you're all ready to explore new lands, you may be missing some traveling essentials. The country you're visiting may have a different currency than yours, bad weather that you aren't expecting, or a whole lot more walking than you're anticipating, so you'll need to pack accordingly. There are a lot of vital items that could make or break your trip. Learn from the following mistakes and don't ruin your vacation by overlooking important details.
Not checking your passport validity. William's episode. I'm talking about having a passport that isn't valid long enough. I have a personal experience with this. Last year, I was planning to take a trip to Sri Lanka, and I thought since I was close, relatively speaking, I may as well go to India afterwards. As I was filling out the application form for India, I realized that my passport needed to be valid for 6 months in order to be allowed entry. Mine was only valid for 5 months and 22 days. As I didn't have time to renew my passport before finalizing my travel plans, my trip to India didn't happen. Before you even think of looking for flights, consider your passport validity. This does not just mean if it's valid during your time of travel. Most countries require your passport to be valid between 3 and 6 months after your intended return date. So make sure to check the requirements and renew it well in advance. Not considering plug shape and voltage in your destination country. Emily's episode.
Exhausted from the long flight from Incheon to New Zealand, I checked in and went to my room. I unpacked, showered, and got changed for bed. After I wrote in my travel diary, I began organizing photos on my smartphone. My phone battery was almost dead. I wanted to charge my phone, and that's when I realized I had a big problem. The electrical wall outlet was different from the ones back home, and I didn't have the right adapter.
You need to consider plug shape and voltage before traveling to a different country to make sure you'll be able to use your devices. Don't forget converters and adapters so that you can use your electronics. Adapters allow a plug from one country to be plugged into an outlet in another country. Converters increase and decrease the voltage of a device.